Good afternoon, and we welcome you to this webinar sponsored by OSG. Today's webinar is titled Customer Segmentation Does Not Work. What's wrong with it? Our presenters today are Dr. Manivannan and Sanjeev Sridharan of OSG. Manivannan is the EVP and General Manager for Life Sciences at OSG. Dr. Mani has over 20 years experience in the pharmaceutical industry as an executive in strategy and operations, focused on commercial and R&D strategy, product development, market positioning, portfolio management, business analytics, and licensing acquisition. Dr. Mani has worked in the following therapeutic areas: CV and metabolic, immunology, oncology, neuroscience, and ophthalmology. Our second presenter is Sanjeev Sridharan. Sanjeev is a director in business development and delivery services at OSG. Sanjeev has over 10 years experience in market research. He has worked on studies in segmentation, customer satisfaction, product development, choice drivers, forecasting, and needs gap analysis. Sanjeev currently leads a global team of managers to ensure that market research projects are designed, analyzed, and delivered successfully. Let me now turn it over to Dr. Mani and Sanjeev. Gentlemen.
Thank you, Geeta. Good afternoon, everybody. Glad to be here and glad to be discussing a very important topic today with you. As Geeta said, our topic today is customer segmentation does not work. What's wrong with it? So we did specifically make this very provocative because we want to address some of the challenges personally I experienced while I was at the pharma industry, as well as what collectively we have experienced at OSG. So I'd like to give a very quick overview of who we are and then move on to the actual topic for discussion today. So OSG is a customer analytics consulting company. We are located in, we are headquartered in the United States in Pennsylvania, and we have offices in New York City, Manchester, United Kingdom, and Bangalore, India. We have done over 700 projects across multiple verticals, most of it in the life science sector. And then we have worked with, as you can see, we have worked with a very diverse range of Fortune 500 clients. And then most of them, our work actually works at some companies with the C-suite level, as well as business unit and project level work at engagements. We have been recognized as a leading analytic thought leader as well, and then we have been featured in various publications, as you see here, and we have been recognized by Inc. 500 as one of the fastest growing companies in the US. So our basic capabilities in life sciences spans the entire spectrum of, sort of the pharma healthcare life cycle, all the way from R&D to sales. So we do various portfolio prioritization projects, marketing, commercial assessment in early licensing, acquisition type of scenarios. And from a marketing perspective, we do various segmentation engagements, which is a topic for today. And then on the sales side, we have field force optimization, sales force effectiveness type of engagement as well. As you can see, our core competency is our market research, advanced analytics, advisory, and technology. Advisory because that's how we deal with the engagements very on a consultative approach. And then technology platform that we use are ASEMAP, which is our behavioral analytic platform, which is we have a proprietary license for, and it's a Stanford authored platform. OSMPS is our data visualization and predictive analytic portal, where we do simulations as well as keep all of the data that from our projects where the customers have access to and to run scenarios. And CAVI is our customer engagement platform and also a data integration tool where we use them in certain projects, particularly on the sales side. So, as I said, segmentation, right? So what is segmentation? Just to sort of provide a context for today's discussion. So segmentation essentially is based on a premise that different customers have different characteristics and needs. And then if you are able to characterize them in groups of different groups rather, we know that then we can actually target them better. Because we know that customers who are similar in characteristics are likely to make product choices similarly, and then also respond to promotional efforts similarly. So today's discussion is based on this context, and we're going to talk about how we really come up with these segments. So before we actually talk about sort of the how to segment, I want to actually sort of share some of the experience I've had when I was in the pharma industry, as well as OSG, in terms of what is really challenging today in the segments that we target in the pharma sales force, right? So primarily, the segments that we have in the pharma sector for targeting it for sales purposes is really based on past RX volume, and then we decide them based on the volume of the prescriptions. And then we obviously say that, okay, the larger volume customers are better for us, and then we target them with more reach and frequency. But a lot of times, unfortunately, we don't really understand what really drives this, RX volume behavior, right? So we have doctors who prescribe, 3 or 4 products at the same level, and we don't know exactly why. So what happens then is the message that we deliver based on a sort of a product attribute may not necessarily resonate with these doctors. Therefore, they may not switch or write prescriptions for the product that you're trying to sell. So these are key challenges that I personally experienced and try to grapple with. How do we really overcome this, right? So the segmentation approaches that we traditionally had been used in the pharma industry is like, first of all, you do demographic segmentation. It provides a pretty good perspective of what the customers are, who the customers are, where they live, what type of age, type of scenarios. But it does not tell us what really drives, what do they value, how do they value things that they buy, etc. Right? So a slight improvement over that is providing an attitudinal segmentation where we sort of understand, based on past behaviors, etc., we understand why customers do certain things, like, traditionalists, early adopters, overachievers, like the name suggests, the traditionalists might stick to very traditional route to prescriptions, etc. Early adopters are guys who jump on the new drug that is available. So the problem with this approach is that these attitudes keep changing as they see new products coming into the markets, etc. So what OSG segmentation approach is really based on what the needs are, especially the future needs are of the customer. So if you are actually talking about a specific therapeutic area, we first understand what is it that they actually look for as a unmet need in those areas, so that we can actually better understand what and why they write prescriptions, right? So this particular approach that we're going to talk a little bit more detail today, a lot more detail today, will tell you, if you can understand the needs of the customers and isolate sort of collective groups that have similar needs, and then segment them, how we can actually target those customers better. So what we're going to do is really go through that process by using an example in the life sciences area. This is a psoriasis drug that we helped a company with in terms of segmenting and targeting. And my colleague Sanjeev is going to take you through the process by which we actually got to the segmentation. And then I will take over and then talk about how we really implemented it to do the targeting, etc. Sanjeev?
Okay, thank you, Mani. Good afternoon, everyone. Before we go into how we actually develop the segments for this example, let me level set on the market situation itself. So we were working with a company, say Company X, which was coming out with a new drug for moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. It was a biologic. As you all know, the psoriasis space is extremely crowded. There are already well-established biologics in the market, have been in existence for 10 to 15 years. So they were launching a new drug into a crowded marketplace, and they were seeking an effective way to enter and establish their market in this, their product in this crowded market. So our suggestion to them was to use our proprietary ASEMAP methodology to develop an actionable needs-based segmentation so that they can identify unique segments of dermatologists based on what they desire, and they can appropriately message and position their product to those distinct audiences. Today we're going to talk about 3 steps as far as segmentation is concerned. The first step is segmentation itself, how we came up with the segments. Number 2 would be targeting of all the segments that we created. How did we help the client determine the target segments? And finally, how do we activate on these segments? How do you reach these segments? What are the unique messages that we developed that would uniquely appeal to each of the segments that we came up with? Our research approach was a 30-minute online survey. We did this across 7 countries, a few North American countries, few European countries, a couple of APAC, and 1 Latin American country as well. The survey flow is as what's on the slide. Obviously, we started with a screener just to ensure that we are targeting the right respondents, and then we come to the more important portions of the survey itself. So we captured their current usage and prescription behavior in terms of what they're using today. We also captured receptivity to the new product profile. Then we come to our proprietary ASEMAP exercise, which is the attributes trade-off exercise. And then we finish up with the attitudes and firmographics related questions as well. The most important step in this survey is the ASEMAP exercise. This is our proprietary trade-off exercise. What we call as attributes here are attributes or endpoints that encompass efficacy of a drug, safety of a drug or a category, dosing, mechanism of action, and so on and so forth. Before I move on, let me tell you what the steps in ASEMAP are. So the first question you would have for me is, hey Sanjeev, there are 30 attributes here. How do you test it without increasing sample or without increasing survey length, right? Assume you have 30 attributes. If I ask you to rank them from 1 to 30, it's going to be an extremely tedious exercise for you. So what we do is we make it simpler, right? The very first step is categorization. We show you the 30 attributes. We ask you to pick your top 10. Remember, we are asking you to pick your top 10, not rank your top 10. So we ask you to pick your top 10. That 10 goes away. There are 20 remaining. You pick your next 10. That goes away. Essentially, what you've done is you've taken a long list of 30 attributes and have converted them into 3 usable groups of 10 each. Step number 2 is you bring back your first bucket of 10 and you rank 1 to 10 within that bucket. You bring back your second 10, rank 1 to 10 within that bucket. You do the same for the third bucket. Essentially, what you've done here is you've converted a very tedious ranking exercise into 2 simpler steps. So at the end of the first 2 steps, you know what attributes are important, what attributes are less important. But what you don't know is the magnitude of importance of these attributes. That's where step C comes into play, which is the trade-off. That's our secret sauce. We show pairs of attributes one at a time, and we tell the respondents, here are 100 points. How do you allocate these 100 points across these 2 attributes depending upon how important they are to you? So by showing about 13 pairs of attributes, we are able to determine the magnitude of importance of all the 30 attributes that we tested in this exercise. For attributes that are not shown in pairs, we can interpolate their scores in between. Okay, so that's the uniqueness of this process. We are able to test a lot more attributes with minimal sample, retaining the accuracy. Irrespective of the number of attributes you have, this process takes only between 12 to 15 minutes. And a trade-off exercise like this lends itself very well to a needs-based segmentation. So what we did was we used the survey inputs, we ran a cluster analysis, and we found distinct segments based on what drives choice in this category. right? So let's look at this table, right? On the extreme left, we have listed some of the attributes that we tested in this exercise. It has some safety attributes, some efficacy attributes, some patient outcomes, and side effects as well. So let's look at segment number 1. So you see the scores here. These are index important scores. 100 is considered to be an average. Anything that's above 100 is considered to be relatively more important. Anything less than 100 is considered to be relatively less important. So look at segment 1, right? Look at what is important to them. Availability of long-term safety data, a score of 250, significantly higher than the other segments here. Incidence of malignancies, 215, twice as important as all the other segments here. Similarly, incidence of serious infections. So what it tells us is, based on the trade-off exercise, the clustering that we have done, segment 1 emphasizes a lot more on serious safety issues. Similarly, if you look at segment number 2, it focuses on endurance, the long-term efficacy of a drug. Segment number 3 focuses on rapid treatment or short-term efficacy. Segment number 4 focuses on side effects and practical patient outcomes. So this is our first cut, right? Based on the trade-off exercise, we are able to determine 4 unique segments depending upon what unique things drive choice for them. Then what we do is we use that as a basis. We combine that with other survey inputs that we have in terms of attitudes, behavior, and firmographics, and we come up with a holistic segmentation. So let's look at segment 1 again. So we know that this is a segment which focuses on serious safety issues. If you look at their attitude, you can clearly see that they try out treatments only after they have been in the market for a long period of time. So very consistent with their cautious approach. It also, the prescribing behavior, they have the lowest biologics usage. So it is consistent with the fact that they are concerned about safety, and they primarily are at a medical practice. So we look at all this information and we name segment 1 as safety seeker. Similarly, we follow the same exercise and have named the second segment as endurance seeker, the third segment as rapid treater, and the fourth segment as simplicity seeker. Okay. So what we then do is we use the information that we have collected using the attributes, attitudes, behavior, and demographics, and we build what are called segment personalities. Basically, it is bringing these segments to life so that when a sales rep or a marketing person looks at these segments, they look at it more as an individual. So we build the personalities first. Then what we do is we develop messaging specific to those segments. So we are able to tell the sales rep what aspects of the product they need to lead with, they need to end with, to uniquely appeal to each of these segments. Okay. So that was how we developed the segments. Now Mani is going to talk about how we target these segments and activate on those segments.
Thank you, Sanjeev. If you go to the next slide, please. So Sanjeev set up the stage for how do we really identify the segments and how do we really define some of these segments and their characteristics, right? So now what we did for this particular example is a particular project is that we said, okay, let's look at all 4 segments and figure out first, is there a way to prioritize these so that we can target our efforts better? So the first thing we did was to look at our product profile, and looked at each segment and the key attributes that each segments are based on, and see if this product actually going to fulfill the needs of those segments. By doing that cut, we found that the rapid treater who actually prefer to have the drug to uptake really rapidly for the patient, that particular need was not met by this product, because this product was not designed for rapid uptake in the patients. So because of that reason, we said, okay, we are not going to really focus on the rapid treater, but the other 3 segments are game. So after that, another filter that we put in is that, okay, if taking all the segments, and considering the marketplace, how big are these segments? Are they really worth putting a lot of effort in? That's the second cut. And the third cut then is, okay, once we figure out the market is big enough, how much effort you need to put in to really acquire customers from that particular segment, meaning how do you initiate them to write prescriptions or switch from another drug? So what effort is required? So these are the three filters we put in to prioritize the segment first. So that is the first step. And then so now that we have prioritized the segments and we know what the segments are, now what we need to do is how do we really implement this in the field? And so first, we need to first identify the segments, then figure out what type of messaging we need to give them, and then how do we really prescribe certain things to the reps so they can actually give the message to the doctors. Next slide, please. Yeah, so as I said, we took the first three segments, endurance seekers, safety seekers, and simplicity seekers, and then worked with the company as well as their ad agency to create messaging and positioning so that we can actually develop very distinct and differentiated messages for each of these segments. So that is sort of the first step on the marketing end of things. These are the marketing messages that we need to have sales rep be able to deliver. And then the next step was to really go to the next slide, please. To really identify, first of all, now we have the segments, we have defined the segments characteristics and profiles, and we are also given them right messages to go give it to the physicians. So now the next step is really identify who these doctors are and how do they get classified into these segments, right? So we had developed a typing tool with a subset of the benefits that defines these segments. So basically, in this particular case, we had a 10 question or 10 benefit related questions, and we asked the doctors to rank them in the order of preference for them. So this is done by the rep going into the office to see the doctor. The first thing they do is to really ask the doctor to take this survey and rank this. It takes about 15 to 20 seconds. And then based on the ranking they give these questions, they get typed into a segment that we already prioritized. And then once that is done, then rep is then able to first of all tag this doctor as segment 1, 2, or 3, and then also give the right message to this doctor to sell or promote the drug. So that's one approach. We have also done what we have done for this particular project was actually we went out to the larger universe of doctors and actually called on them to do the survey ourselves and then type them. So the response rate in this particular case was about 30 to 40%. So out of all the doctors we looked at, we were able to give them almost 500-600 doctors to start with for the reps to go there. So the point is that eventually the reps will have to add to that list by asking the doctor these questions if they're not typed in. So the point is then implementation, it's going to take time, but once it's done, it's going to stay there for a long time because these behavioral sort of the needs-based segmentation is based on sort of the human behavior, which is not going to change unless there is a huge step change in the marketplace. All right, so we talked about segmentation and we talked about how we implement it. And this is sort of a summary of various projects that we have done. So as I said, we did about 700 overall projects, and about 20% of those projects tend to be somewhat segmentation related, right? Whether we are segmenting and targeting or providing some perspective on certain type of segments for the client so that they can target them separately. So based on those projects, we have a collective sort of summary of what impacts have we had on these companies' products. So the first of all, product impact, right? We have measured increase in market share particularly in very crowded categories that was enabled by these type of segmentation and targeting. And then we also know that the product uptake is much faster because you're giving the right message to the right people. And organizationally, from the sales perspective, the sales activities are streamlined, and by that I mean they're streamlined to the point that the rep goes into a doctor's office, they know this doctor belongs in a particular segment. They're able to give the messages very effectively and efficiently. So the whole sales process for them is very efficient. And then obviously that results in really improved velocity of opportunities, meaning the time for the doctor to write a prescription or switch is much faster than otherwise. And then it obviously gives a much better ROI or decreased cost to serve for the sales force. From a marketing perspective, by doing a segmented approach and developing messages, there is direct relevance of messages that impact sales. Therefore, marketing has been elevated to really be an enabler for the business success. And from an R&D perspective, these are projects that we really looked at from a segmentation perspective on R&D side. We have actually done several projects where we, based on the segmentation we provided, we set up R&D and innovation approaches to really meet the customer needs in those segments. This actually very heavily prioritized and optimized R&D investment for those clients. And then finally, there are some technology platforms that we have looked at, and this provides a very early screen or first screen for evaluating how valuable a technology is by segment, and then to be able to develop those segments as well. So these are very, impactful. These are like very significant impacts that we have provided to our clients. So we believe that our segmentation approach is by far the best available in the industry today. So you would ask why OSG, right? Our advantages. So I just want to summarize some of the things that would differentiate us or sort of take us apart. Sort of keep us apart from the competition here. So unique segmentation approach. We went through the segments and we talked about how our approach is more needs-based, therefore is unique, and its applicability is long-term. As I said earlier, because it's based on human behavior, this segmentation that we do is typically works for 5 to 7 years without any change. Unlike the decile-based segments, you typically have to change every quarter. And then we have done this across multiple verticals in the pharma side, the various therapeutic areas, medical devices, and also CPG companies. And then we provide you sort of a one-stop shop approach. We actually develop the segments, we help you implement it, and have a go-to-market strategy to help you sort of fully deliver the effective sales force that you have. And then we also provide you a comprehensive set of tools that you can, to deliver to your sales force to be able to articulate and give the right messages to the right customers. So that concludes our presentation today. So I was wondering if you had any questions there.
We have a couple of minutes, Mani. Quick question. So we talked about using primary research data to do segmentations. Does OSG use secondary research data to run segmentations as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have used that in sort of two formats. One is that we use the secondary data and the primary research to really correlate them to be able to identify the doctors better. The second way is that really we use the secondary data first and look at sort of the variables that impact the needs-based segmentation. Meaning, so we try to link the secondary data to the primary database needs-based segmentation and link the doctors to really come up with a scoring or sort of a predictive scoring based on past behaviors from the secondary data, and to match them to the segments that we have done to provide a scoring so that they have an initial set of doctors to go work with.
Okay, excellent. That sounds interesting. I think those are all the questions that we had.
Thank you very much, guys. And if you have any additional questions, please feel free to contact either one of us, myself or Sanjeev. And please visit our newly launched website, osganalytics.com. There'll be a lot more details about products and services we offer as well. Thank you very much for your time today.